It was just starting to feel like autumn, and that's what I'll always remember about that day. The leaves were still half green, the gold just starting to emerge, and that time of year always reminds me of that day. Our boss, Carl Boswick, was not what you would call a smart man. He was greedy, he was ambitious, he could be cruel, and he was certainly lazy. But smart? No, not a day in his life. He had been talking with the mayor, unbeknownst to us, and the 10 of us who made up his crew arrived that day to find Mayor Horace Dewey and Boswick waiting for us in the yard. I wasn't a crew boss back then. I was just another lumberman, and your dad and I were on the Deepwoods crew. We had both served in Vietnam, but there had been no ticker tape parade when we came back. We are pretty good friends, and we watched each other's backs when we came into the woods. There were 5 Deepwoods crews in those days, but we were regarded as the best of those 5. We lost the fewest men, we cut the most lumber, we brought the most wood back to the mill. We were the best, and that was why he chose us. He wanted men who could get the job done, but I don't think even he knew what the job was. Men, I want to enlist your help for a special job today. Mr. Boswick and I have been talking, and I want to put an end to this forester nonsense. The uproar was immediate and not particularly productive. We had all grown up with the rules too, and we knew that you did not fight against the foresters. You stayed still, you hid, but you didn't fight them. They couldn't be fought as far as we knew. But Dewey quieted us as best he could. I know, this is not how things are normally done, but I know that if anyone can accomplish this, it's the brave men who go into the deep woods. I'm going into the deep woods to attack the heart of the foresters. Come with me, and I'll make sure that each of you are rewarded handsomely. Handsomely turned out to be a year's worth of wages when we succeeded. This was 95. That kind of money could change your life. People were working paycheck to paycheck, and a sum like that could pay off a mortgage, a couple of cars, settle debts, or even help someone start a new life. We agreed to a man, even me, and headed into the woods to earn our reward. You've never seen the deep woods, I assume, and I'm betting your old man doesn't talk about it much. The woods have 3 stages. There's the outskirts, where we work, the mids, where the regular logging crews work, and the deep woods, where the experienced guys go. We were heading deeper than that. We were heading into the heart of Rayffered Woods. This was where Mayor Dewey assured us the foresters made their home. I've been going over the old town documents, he told us as we rode into the deep woods, and I have discovered a way to get rid of them for good. The foresters have a tree that lies in the middle of their camp, a heart tree, and within it lies the thing that gives the foresters their power. We're going to destroy it, and once it's gone, the foresters will be gone too. And how do you propose to just walk into a forester camp? Said your father, bold as brass. We have enough trouble dodging them in the open. I can't imagine trying to sneak into a group of them. Oh no, they won't be at their camp, he assured us. You sound pretty sure of that, your dad said. Do they have an appointment or something? He asked, drawing chuckles from the rest. Nope, Dewey said, the truck coming to a stop. They're going to be too busy putting out fires. We'd stopped next to an area in the woods near the midpoint, a place where we often cut. The stumps were thick out here, but some of them already had sprouts growing from them. Pretty soon, there would be new trees for us to harvest, but I'd never see them reach maturity. I never questioned then why the forest grew so quickly, but I suppose in retrospect it should have seemed off. The trees in Rayffered return as quickly as they fall, and the children are the price we pay. We'd been riding in Boswick's extended cab dually, and the back could easily fit about 4 people. The other 6 had been riding in the back of the truck, the mayor and Boswick in the front, but the guys in the bed hadn't been riding alone. There were 3 large somethings under a tarp, and when we stopped, we learned what was under there. Mayor Dewey put a foot on the tire and stepped up and into the back of the truck. We all knew Dewey. He'd been a logging man too, once upon a time, and it had earned him the votes of a lot of roughnecks. He had promised change, but I don't think we understood how much change he meant to bring. The guys in the back looked at him as he smiled, whipping the tarp off like a magician doing a trick, and revealed 3 drums, 2 of acetone, 1 of benzene, and he told the guys in the back to unload them carefully. He stood there and watched as they put him down, most of them not sure what was going on, but I'd figured it out. I'd been responsible for munitions in the service before I got out. Munitions and chemical storage. I knew how volatile those 3 drums could be. I thought I had an idea what he intended to do, but I prayed I was wrong. "This is how we will draw them out," he said, and even Boswick looked shocked. "Mayor," I said, finding my courage, "I really hope you don't intend to set those off in the forest." "But of course," Dewey said, popping the lid on one of them. "Even school children know not to set fires, or you'll attract the wrath of the foresters. I'm going to rig up a fuse," he said, taking out a length of fabric, "and we'll be on our way before it goes off." We all stood a little straighter, our neck hair up. Setting a fire in the deep woods? He might as well have said that we were going to take a dump on the altar of the Baptist church. None of us could have said why, but lighting a fire in the deep woods was as close to blasphemy as we could think. It wasn't just that it would make the foresters angry, but the deep woods were a place that felt ancient and sacred. I had been in the deep woods since coming back from war at 22, and the feeling of being there was like what I imagined standing at Stonehenge is like. You are a tiny thing standing in the lap of something that was ancient when you were born and will not mourn you when you die. I looked around and realized that all of us felt that way, and they looked as furious as I was. "Mayor," I said, but your dad cut me off. If I was furious, then he was livid. "You can't do that. Are you insane? You'll bring their wrath down on the whole town. They take whole logging camps for brush fires sometimes, for lightning strike blazes. If you set that off in the deep woods, they'll kill us all." Dewey looked up, not really seeming to grasp what he was saying, and when he sparked the lighter, we all took a cautious step back. "I'm going to light this. That should give you about," he thought about it, "a minute before it goes off. In that minute, I would suggest you jump into the back of the truck as quickly as you can, before—" But he needn't have bothered. 8 men, Boswick included, started running for the truck, and all of them piled in as Dewey ran for the cab. Your dad and I, however, ran in the opposite direction, not wanting any part of this. A year's pay wasn't worth what they were about to do. Your dad and I started running before the truck even squealed off, and it was a good thing we did. Those barrels went up about 30 seconds later, and the blast threw both of us 10 feet, even at the distance that we had run. The concussion was like a mortar shell, the heat immediate and intense, and when I picked my head up, shaking it, there was fire in the forest. It was huge, lots of black smoke, and I was struggling to my feet when your dad grabbed me under the arm and hoisted me up. "Run! For the love of God, run!" So we ran. It didn't take them long to find us. The mist came first, like it always does. We were running flat out, really hoofing it, when I saw something from the corner of my eye and yelled for your dad to stop. I think he'd have just kept going otherwise, and you'd have more than one reason to be pissed at those woodland bastards. I had to yell twice, little as I wanted them to hear me, and on the second yell, he froze in place. We didn't have time to sit. We didn't have time to do anything. We just stood there, still as statues, and watched the foresters come. I had seen them before, but never like this. Until then, I'd seen a dozen at a time, but there were at least 50 of them, moving through the woods. They groaned as they walked, like trees in a high wind, and I was afraid they were going to bump into us and find us there. They don't have eyes. Did you know that? They got close enough that I could see that. Their feet sank into the ground, the roots pushing into the ground as they walked. Maybe that's how they find things, through the vibrations on the ground, but at that moment, we were both just trying to remain as still as possible. They turned after a little, more interested in the fire than new converts. They took the mist with them, and when they went, we ran. We ran and ran, neither of us realizing how deep in the woods we'd gone. And just as the sun began to dip, we made it back to the yard. Mr. Camber, the one who owned it when we started, asked us what had happened, and we spelled it out for him. They took trucks in the next day to pick up survivors, but there was no one. The dually was found near the edge of the deep woods, the border between the foresters' territory and ours, all smashed and wrecked. There wasn't a window unbroken or a piece of metal undented. None of the lumbermen were ever seen again, the mayor either, and an emergency election had to be held. The next mayor made it clear that he would uphold the old ways, and no one ever tried to fight the foresters again. Your dad and I were given a couple of weeks off, and then we got back, and I requested placement on a crew that didn't go to the deep woods. I never wanted to see that place again, though it would still play in my dreams from time to time. That was 15 years ago, but I still wake up with nightmares of that army of foresters sometimes. Garza lay back on his pillows, staring out the window as he pondered whether he had been right to tell it or not. That is the last I will speak of it, and I never want to hear about it again. Go on. I'm tired. I left then, understanding now why Terry had wanted the story so badly, though I didn't even think he really knew why. The information here was a game changer. Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague. I'm glad you made it to the end of the story. Thanks for stopping by. If you think you might like a little more spooky in your life, well, there should be some links popping up at the end of this to other great stories, maybe even some great playlists that you can discover. We update 7 nights a week, so there's always something new and something spooky waiting for you on the channel. If you like your spooky a little more tactile, there should be some links to Amazon down in my description, so go have a look over there. It should get you to all my latest books. Speaking of books, I've got my first horror novel, Towesey Homestead, available for purchase on Amazon. It's my first horror novel, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd go give it a look and maybe give it a buy too. If you'd like to support the channel, we have a subscription program here on YouTube, but we've also got a Patreon with lots of tiers and lots of different rewards. For example, our Spooky Skeleton contributors get their spooky 12 hours early. That's right, they get their videos at 8:30 a.m. as opposed to 8:30 p.m. Ghostly Reader tier contributors, that's a tier that's only available on Patreon, I'm afraid, get a book anytime I write one, signed and on their doorstep, hopefully in a timely manner. So, however you support the channel, whether it's monetarily or by enjoying our great videos here, thank you so much. Speaking of patrons, before we go, let's go ahead and thank them. Thanks to Sara, Unicorn Hollow, JustAmy, and Cinnamon Fox for being our spooky ghost contributors. Thanks to Shannon McGhee, Janet, Lee Kendall, Ronda J, Sue Casper, Valinar, Cleo Harper Returns, Sara, and Queen Sheebah for being our spooky skeleton contributors. And thanks to Oh Snap, Winter, Xaronan, Stephanie Carrington, Tyler Parker, Grim Reaper, TomboiTopUwU, Queen Sheebah, MissNewBooty, and Alex Connor for being our ghostly reader tier contributors. Thanks, everyone. We just couldn't do the show without you. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.